Okay, so I'm open to Module 8, which is the second module in week 4. And in this module, you're going to be covering Chapter 9, which is all about using health services. So let's skip on down here to the objectives. There's a lot packed into this chapter because it's all about how we currently use health in this country. How is it run in this nation? What does that look like in terms of all the different branches of healthcare? So we're going to start with understanding what the role is of the various different players or healthcare professionals in health services. Who are they? What do they do? What are the advantages and disadvantages or drawbacks to each type of specific profession within the healthcare industry? We'll also take a look at a brief sort of history of how medical care is delivered in the U.S. today versus how it used to be delivered. How are people today getting care, and what is the quality of that care? And then we'll compare and contrast the U.S. healthcare system with that of other countries. And again, it's not all good and it's not all bad. I think one of the most common things that we talk about in the class is often how other countries seem so much better when it comes to healthcare, but they have their drawbacks as well. And I like how the authors of the book really lay it out nicely in terms of what we have that's an advantage and what we have that maybe isn't or is looked at as a disadvantage, and how that can be different depending upon your demographics and various individual factors. So we'll be taking a look at how to understand who seeks help and how they seek help based on where they live, what their income level is, what their education is, and then individual factors. So here's where the longevity project really comes into play. We've been looking at all about how personality factors into a person's health. How do things about the person, traits, characteristics, influence the decisions that they make and the behaviors that they take when it comes to their health? And here is where it is important to understand who seeks help. When you have an issue, when you have a healthcare crisis, or you have a problem, not everyone does the same thing about that. So what does that look like for different people? Explaining the role of an individual in their perception of their illness or their perception of their symptoms. How do people sort of parse out what they're feeling like? How do they self-diagnose? What factors dictate how people perceive their symptoms? And how do people then respond to those symptoms and interpret them, which then relates to what they do about it, their behavior that follows. And so understanding what the patient's first line of defense is in health and what the common reasons are for seeking or not seeking medical care. This chapter talks a lot about demographics because demographics have been found to be large factors in who is more likely to seek healthcare. Also, in what dictates people's healthcare usage. So sometimes people are at the mercy of the healthcare that they're able to receive. And that's not all created equal. It really depends on, again, those demographic factors. We'll look at stages of delay in using health services. So what kinds of delay do people engage in when they're deciding sort of what to do about their symptoms? And here's where a couple different models come into play. Namely, the health belief model is a large one that we use that explains people's decision-making process in utilizing health services. We'll also take a look at complementary, alternative, and integrative medicine. how that differs from quote-unquote Western medicine that we practice today, which is very science and evidence-based, that focuses on curing, and that's very different from Eastern medicine or complementary and alternative medicine, which focuses more on prevention of disease rather than curing a disease that already exists. So help make you a little more familiar with the different modalities of complementary and alternative medicine, what those look like, what are the different types of illnesses and diseases that can be treated using complementary and alternative medicine, and also what are people's perceptions about it. Are people well informed when it comes to other options aside from Western medicine? Do they even know what's out there and the different routes that they can take that may not be as mainstream and may not be ones that we're seeing used in practice today here in America as much. So just all the different factors involved in patients getting information about these sorts of modalities from their practitioners. We'll take also a look at the interaction between a healthcare provider and a patient. So the doctor-patient relationship is what's pivotal here. How do patients talk to their doctors, and how do doctors talk to their patients? What styles work? What styles don't work? When a patient is an advocate of their own healthcare, how does that fare for them? When you have a patient that's well versed in healthcare versus one who's not, what are the effects of that? So these are all patient factors that can get in the way of practitioners doing their jobs, and practitioners don't always like that. So it can create for a little bit of butting of heads when it comes to a patient who maybe wants to take one route in treatment and a doctor that wants a different route, or a patient that has no input and doesn't know what to do and is at the mercy of a doctor trying to make decisions for them. It can get very tricky. So there's lots of things that we've come to understand about this physician-patient dyadic interaction of what we can do better. So methods for improving that communication line, which then relate to improved patient outcomes. When a doctor and a patient are more in line with their communication, the patient has better outcomes. They're sicker less, they go to the doctor less, they follow recommendations more, they resolve their symptoms better. So there's a lot of different effects that come from that. Also be looking at what is meant between adherence and non-adherence and how we measure adherence. Basically, a patient, the degree to which a patient is doing what they should be doing when it comes to their healthcare plan of action for whatever their illness is. We'll take a look at what patients' reasons are for not adhering. It isn't always just that a patient doesn't want to. There's a lot of different elements that come into play that may prevent them from adhering well to medical advice. And so some of those things can be demographic factors as well as patient traits. So here again is where personality comes into play. And then we'll end with the different ways that we can improve patient adherence. So again, for this module, I'm going to have you watch a video assignment, and the video assignment is on alternative medicine, just to give you a better view of what are some things that are being implemented in medicine today that haven't been mainstream over the past, say, 30, 40 years, but are becoming more and more used by patients. So the video that I'm showing you is a little older. I think it's from the late 80s, but every single alternative medicine modality that it covers is still very relevant today. And surprisingly, it's taken that long to make its way into mainstream medicine, where you're actually now having doctors recommend chiropractic services or acupuncture or meditation as a means of treatment for various disorders and illnesses. And all of that is covered in the video. So again, it would help you if you've read this chapter before watching the video, so you have sort of a base understanding, and then the video is going to help just kind of illustrate some of that better for you and help it to make a little bit more sense, seeing how patients are using the various modes of alternative medicine will be very helpful. So that assignment's due on the 31st as well, just like the other video assignment. And again, you're just going to click into here and submit it right into the assignment window. The discussion for this module has to do with Chapter 9 in the Longevity Project, and it deals with happiness in marriage. So taking a look at all the termites who were married, who were never married, who divorced, who got remarried, how did that all affect them? There's some interesting gender differences that pop out, so be looking for that. And that's basically what the questions are about for this discussion. I want you to talk a little bit about the differences between the groups when it came to the termites. So again, here's where using examples is going to help you. Like, name the termites by name. Who were they? How did they do based on their marital status? And what about marriage overall promotes health? So there is a positive association between marriage and health. What is that, and why do researchers say that that exists? What evidence do we have that shows that? And how, again, does personality factor into marriage, divorce, and longevity? What were some personality traits that contributed to the downfall of some of the termites' marriages, and some that contributed to long-lasting marriages that then contributed to better health overall in the termites who stayed married and happily married. So the assessment part of this chapter has to do with marriage. Obviously, if you're not married, it's going to be hard to answer that. So I would pick your parents or relatives or someone close to you that could fill out the assessment, that you could give the assessment to, and you could score them for that section. I would not have you use your dating relationship for this assessment, because as much as you'd like to think, it's not the same as marriage, and it should never be put on par with it. Dating and even living together with somebody is not the same, and the research supports that. Marriage is a whole nother ball game, and with it comes a whole different set of complexities. And so I think it would skew differently. So try to find somebody that is married that you could give this assessment to and score them, and then you could just answer the questions based on their score, if that makes sense. Okay, that wraps up this module, and we've got one more module to go for week